Welcome to Popcorn Planet. We are live, and as I was saying, we do morning news now around noon during the weekdays, Eastern Standard Time, and I'd love for you guys to join us, but I am going to clip out important parts, and this one felt important to me. I brought on a tech expert, my buddy Sam. What's up, Sam?
Hey.
Sam, I appreciate you being here. Look, I don't want to get into where Sam works, get him in trouble, but let me just say he's a tech expert. That's all I want to say. I vetted him. I know him. I know he knows what he's talking about regarding this topic. So you'll just have to trust me. But hopefully his knowledge will help you feel confident as he begins to talk about this. But Sam, you're up to date, and Steph's here as well. Hey, Steph, in the background.
I hope.
But we are talking about this burner phone that a lot of people are speculating on now. So there's talk of a burner phone that Brian Laundrie bought on the day he disappeared from his parents' house. Now, I want to get Sam's thoughts on this, and there's some theories out there, but let's go through what we know. Now, yesterday, we got this information, Brian Enton reporting, that the family law attorney, Stephen Bertolino, his quote was, "To my knowledge, they did purchase a new phone, and it's the same phone that Brian left home and which the FBI is in possession of." Now, they went back to him, and now he's reporting this morning, Brian, new text from Laundrie family attorney, "I can confirm that a phone was purchased on September 4th, 2021, and Brian opened account with AT&T for that phone. Not a burner. Brian left that phone at home the day he went for a hike in the preserve on September 14th, and the FBI has that phone. So he left for a hike on the preserve. I guess, is that the last time they found him? That's there you go. We know that officially confirmed now. Followed up with you. Do you know where Brian's previous phone is? The one he had while traveling out west? Bertolini, no. So this is where people now are speculating. And before I even get to Sam's expertise, I'm sharing one that came in because this was sent to me a couple ways, and I don't even know, not to put this person on, this is a public post. I don't know who this person is, but it was an interesting theory, and it made me want to reach out to an expert to say, like, is this even possible? So we know Brian and his mom had this new phone. We also know the FBI's possession. They said he left his wallet and phone behind, so it's safe to assume they confiscated that new phone from home. I believe he purchased the new phone with the intent to purposely leave it behind. Stay with me. His old phone was paid for. It could have been unlocked. You can unlock these phones, guys. Assuming the new phone was connected with his regular carrier, he took the place of his old phone, and it's connected with his old phone number. All he had to do after that was do a factory reset, wipe everything from the old phone. If the FBI or any investigators, for that matter, don't know how many prepaid plans or SIM cards he has or where they were purchased, they cannot trace that phone. His old phone is now his burner phone. He knows everything that is going on right now. Everything leaving the new phone behind was done to throw them off in the beginning to buy time. So now, with all these theories and giving you sort of the whole thing, I want to get into Sam in the conversation. Sam, let's rewind. Before we get to is that theory correct? Can you explain a little bit of how a burner phone works? We see them in the movies, etc. Are burner phones real? Can you actually get a phone that's untraceable?
I mean, not untraceable, but it's a phone that you can be tracked from when you bought it and activated it to when you didn't. But until someone can identify it to do that tracking, it is just a string of serial numbers. And so at some point in time, the FBI or someone would have to identify which burner phone they're having to track. And so if he's got one that's off the grid, then they'd have to go back and figure it out. And there's ways to try and do that, and like detective work where you look at locations and maybe stuff that the different carriers would track, but you also have to know which carrier to even subpoena to get that. So that's burner phones. Yes and no. If at any point in time he actually gets spotted, they may actually be able to identify what he's carrying. But it'll be a lot of work.
So it's not as well, because I'm also used to, like, well, Snowden says they're just spying on all of us with everything in our phones. I mean, to our knowledge, there could be something that we don't know, I guess, correct?
I mean, correct, but I mean, it's pretty open knowledge if you want to switch back to the original theory and ditch the burner phone concept, because neither one's a burner phone.
Yeah, because
from what I was reading, they're both just straight up smartphones, not the gas station phone you can buy with like a Mint contract or whatever.
That's where I. So now going to a theory like this idea, could his old phone be now the burner phone? Could you unlock and brick an iPhone, install software or something to, you know, change its IP addresses to not be as traceable, and let him be in the woods on cell service getting? It feels kind of laughable to me, because I would like, there's got to be a way to track this.
So I mean, there's the most obvious thing. If he didn't wipe his phone, Oh, it's gonna be caught. Like there's so all the Snowden stuff, every single app, your Google login, whatever, iPhone, they've got him. It's just a matter of how long till they can get the subpoena, get the information, track it down. There's always there's two different things that can track your phone even when you're not, like, even if you swap SIM cards, the stuff that they're talking about him potentially doing. And this is like hard into the phone. And there may be ways to spoof it. If this guy is really technical, because I've reflashed my OS on a phone before. I have several actually for a while, and then it just became a pain in the butt. If this guy is real technical, he may have been able to do something that complicated. But if he's also real technical, he's smart enough not to use that old phone at all. He's just walked into a gas station, bought like 3 burner phones, left 2 off, and done his thing. I mean, again, this is also maybe he doesn't have that luxury with his face everywhere, but that's the two different things, two different directions I'd go. But if you want, I can tell you the 2 technologies that track your phone now, if you guys are interested.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Well, I was gonna say like but before we get there, I want to get there.
Yep.
Can we eliminate this idea? I mean, it seems it's very unlikely that this hiker Brian was so tech savvy that he's his own Snowden that knew how to do all the proper protocols that the FBI wouldn't trace. So this idea of, well, they have his new burner phone, this one the new one he bought, but he might have his old one. Is that can we debunk that would be very, very unlikely?
Very unlikely, because the thing that you can't really, there's no VPN or something that's going to spoof your attempt to log into a cell phone network. You are logging in as that SIM card or whatever to a cell phone network. That your IP address, your location, that'll be tracked. Now, to what number that they have in their logs, who knows? But they'll get to it eventually. It'll probably be a more mundane way that they get them.
So, all right. So I'm glad to have that. So I wanted to have someone here who can actually walk this through, who I know knows it too. And so this is kind of a non-story. I mean, the only reason this is a story, and Steph, I can get you in as well, but the idea is like, why would you buy a new phone on the 4th? Right after you come home, your fiance is missing. There's a moral and ethical question here of like, well, this seems weird. Is there any technical reason you can think of that why this might cause, red flags in your mind? Steph, sorry, not Steph, Sam. Well, I'll get to Steph second, but Sam, do you see any technical red flags? And I want to get
the only thing is, I wouldn't throw the story out. He could be that dumb. He absolutely could. And this is going to be how they get him. And it just takes this much time. It's going to be, again, a judge order to go get to AT&T. AT&T will probably want to do a token resistance, kind of like sometimes how Apple does.
Well, that's interesting. So how easy is it even for the feds to get the records from these companies?
That I honestly came from an expert comment on. I might as well be citing CSI episodes. I know they can get them. As far as how long it takes, the bureaucracy of it, I'm not that close to that process.
Okay, you haven't you haven't tracked it yourself. But sorry, so you're right. Thank you for pointing that out, because he might be that dumb. In which case, if he had an old phone, he may have already ditched it, realizing
he may have the old phone, holding on to it, and they're just going to track it down. They just have to go through one of these other methods, because he probably was smart enough to swap a SIM card. But the other 2 things I was going to tell you about is how they could track it.
All right, let's hear about this. Steph, really quick, did you have a thought on why, on the morally, do you see anything, does anything in your red flags go off?
Yeah, I mean, he comes home without Gabby, and one of the first things he thinks of a couple of days later is, I'm going to get a new phone. Why? What's wrong with your current phone? What's wrong with the old one? Like, if you want to upgrade with the same SIM card, okay. But you get a brand new phone, a brand new SIM card, like, that doesn't make sense. But I do have a question for Sam, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course.
Andy. Is that okay, Sam?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you, Sam, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
In regards to, and I'm going to try and make this question as non-technical as possible. I could go into weeds on this. So the reports are saying that either way, this is an AT&T phone. Now, my understanding with AT&T is it's a big nationwide American phone provider carrier in pretty much every single state. With them having so many towers and the vast infrastructure technologically speaking, that AT&T have within your country, could that actually be a positive to try and find Brian Laundrie, or could that actually go against them to try and find Brian Laundrie?
They could. That's the kind of data that they could try to subpoena. And that's, again, the question is, how long would that take? And just also, is it going to be fruitful? Is there just going to be absolutely nothing? Because now I'm going to show my ignorance of of the current events. You asked me about phones and technology. I read the stuff you sent me, Andy, but here's where I'm a little blind. Did she die before or after September 4th?
She died before that, in August.
Pardon my ignorance.
She died in August, and the reality is, like, we don't know, guys. She might have the old phone. Like, that's the reality of what this case is. We're jumping on a lot of conclusions because they've confirmed that they found the body and it's her. They haven't told us cause of death or exact day of death, but he was using her credit cards. He was caught using the credit cards, which he actually might be able to offer some insight there too. He was caught. They have him indicted on using her cards and over $1,000 across state lines. That's what his current warrant is for, not the murder yet. And so they caught him that way, so they can. It was a clever way to sort of. Now he has to come in, and then they can get more stuff and question him to really make sure he's guilty of the crime. I'm assuming here, but that's what we have him on. So yes, she died with the phone, old phone. For all we know, could have been with Gabby, or smashed with Gabby, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like broke in the van. Who knows? We don't have any information on that, but there's obviously all the speculation about, well, he got this new phone on the 4th and why. And I wanted, from a technical perspective, are there potential clues here that we can use, or is this, worthless? Is really what I was trying to figure out.
I mean, it absolutely could be, and it comes down to how dumb is this guy. Because if you told me he put the phone, he got a new phone before he left, that's almost premeditated, right there. Like, but the fact that he bought it after, maybe he thought, I don't know you don't know what he was thinking. If he still has the old phone and he tried to throw a no SIM card in, and he actually thinks that's going to work. I mean, first off, they can actually track. They're going to use his old cell phone stuff if he carried it around with him during that whole the August time. They're going to be able to track some of the places he went and anywhere he checked in with that old phone. And
the chat is making good points, Steph. They're like that. Maybe that's what they're looking for. Now, if the phone was dumped in a swamp, Sam, and it's been soaking in a Florida swamp for weeks, and they found it, could they pull stuff off that and get actual clues? So
let's take a hop to the piece the annoying, boring technical piece of Snowden. They're always watching it. Well, that's your own apps are what does that the most. But in going back for a while, I actually don't even know when it started, but your older phones all have an international mobile equipment identity, and that's kind of like your tracker. Like, you take a SIM card out, you put a different SIM card in, that stays the same on any network. And essentially, if he has his phone and he doesn't have a good way to reflash that, which I'm not even sure if you can, as a heavy technical person, I'm not sure how well you could do that. I would be really surprised if he's just not going to pop up on somebody else's network. I think it's AT&T, so I can't remember who the other companies that use AT&T network are, but it's a short list, and they can actually track him with that. It just pops up somewhere else. Or potentially they can just use the newer phones and almost all the phones. You guys get that annoying alert that chimed on your phone that you never signed up for, that lets you know there's a silver alert or a child abducted or something going on near you, and you can go turn it off, but it's permanently on. If you take your SIM card out, that still works. That's actually something part of new phones. It's the E911 functionality, where essentially if the president wants to make a comment to all of us to let us know we were being invaded, hide, something to that effect, good luck everybody, they can actually send a message out that way. And so that's its own network that can be used to track that phone.
Interesting.
You say if it's an iPhone, I mean, it has it.
So it doesn't matter whether they have a big physical infrastructure in terms of the phone towers and everything to try and triangulate him, or a smaller physical infrastructure. Fact of the matter is, it's the IMEI that could actually really do him in. Never mind just trying to swap out the SIM cards. It's that they can focus on to try and triangulate him wherever he is, regardless how big or small their infrastructure is.
Could. And as far as the triangulating and stuff like that, the only cat's paw there is I mean, yes, these are the big companies all know that, but do they actually keep tabs of all that data? Because eventually you have to pay to store that data, and so maybe, maybe not. But you were right on the IMEI. If that's on what I don't know if we know what model phone he had. But
Yeah,
that
we just
one
know
and the
AT&T.
E911 can be used.
AT&T,
I'm just going to assume it's an iPhone. Because
yeah,
no one would want to use AT&T unless you.
I agree. That's I had it. It's awful. It's also a terrible service. So we're gonna get to more of the coverage. There's a couple questions here, I want to hear how could he get away with it, I guess, or what you were leading on to you haven't revealed yet. So uncovering hypocrisy just said, I worked for Apple, very hard to get info on users. You have to get subpoenas, court orders, etc., which is interesting. Even in a criminal case, hit me up on Twitter. I'd love off the record, on the record, whatever we can do. If I can vet that, I'd love to get more information on how realistic, because that would open up our eyes on perhaps why this is taking so long. Maybe they have more information. And then I see if you have questions for Sam, send them over. Nat asked, if he was on a burner phone and logged into his social accounts, would that make him traceable if those social media companies cooperated? Could that be an easier way to ping him, Sam?
Very easy. Because, I mean, how often do you get that alert, say, or maybe if your password's fantastic and you've never been hacked, you've never seen this. But like Google, Facebook, they'll let me know when someone in a weird place in the world just signed in with an IP address, and they'll tell me where. That's, yes. Because the fun part of it is, and that's now we're getting into the fun Snowden, we're always being tracked, mainly to make a buck, because you can sell where you were to different companies. And with one of my other things, I like to know when one of my pay-per-click ads actually converts into someone walking in a building. And I can get that information.
Jesus.
So, thanks, Facebook.
That's so scary, guys.
Yeah. I don't use you, but
everyone's
personally.
worried about putting things out, in their body or whatever. You have no idea what this is doing to us and tracking you and the awful things that it's insane. Freedoms. Throw your iPhones away and live in the woods. That's why I just feel like Brian wouldn't be that stupid. Why would you have a device on you to track it? If you're going to do it, the first rule in the movies is to eliminate that device. So Sam, is there a way? I hate to give criminals an idea, but is there can you get that prepaid phone card? Could you do things that wouldn't be traceable? What can you offer us there?
Yeah, there's burner phones you can get with cash.
Can you get a sat phone, like a satellite phone?
I mean, how connected is this guy? I doubt that. I bet you it's just going to be you can either buy someone else's phone off of them for cash. I mean, there's just options. Just don't be the one that walks in the store to buy it yourself. Hey kid, you want to give me a 6-pack? Hey kid, go in and buy me a burner phone.
If anybody asks you to do that, guys, take a picture of them.
Yeah, you could get some internet karma.
Seriously, for turning this guy in. But so if you do get one of those prepaid phones, and which is just for calling and or texting, and you don't get caught buying it, you could have that device for a while and they wouldn't find it. So that what they do in the movies with the drug dealers and stuff, that is legit.
Yeah, and ideally you want to get a few of them. And just if you really want to be really careful, you toss one every once in a while.
Right. So John Wick, all these people, and that is a legit thing. You get the burner, you chuck it, you break it, get a new one. The thing is just remembering everybody's phone numbers.
And there's some good technology, especially some of the blockchain stuff that actually has value in the privacy world, that he can use a burner phone to log into, and to get outside of a lot of those social tools. And so there's a new wave of technology that that's why I ask, how technical is this guy? Is
there a way to do the web too, though? Because the phone has now become a computer, right? And so I understand buying one of those prepaid phones that has the calling, but will those services now allow you to log into other apps, or could that be what logging into the apps is what can track them to find you if they know? I guess the app needs to know who you are, and the FBI needs to find that for it to matter.
Yeah, if he's trying to log into his Facebook to see, to try and remember his family's birthdays or something, but that's awfully dumb.
Right.
Again, it could just go. He also could walk into a library and do that.
Right.
But he shouldn't. He really shouldn't touch electronics almost at all. I mean, they got facial recognition stuff, but it doesn't really all plug in some central database somewhere. I mean, maybe the NSA has one and they just don't tell us about it, but.
Well, it's wild. I got a lot more questions for Sam, but I want to trim this for YouTube really quick. If you want to support Sam, and if you live in the Tampa area, go check out Nerd Brew events. over on Facebook. This is how I met Sam, and I met Don and a lot of other people they've seen the community. Grateful for Nerd Brew. It's an amazing opportunity if you live in the Tampa area. They hold a lot of they did some virtual stuff because of the pandemic, but they also do a lot of cool live events here at bars.
We're back, baby.
Video games, screenings. Yeah, it's gaming tournaments and everything. So if you live in the Florida area, which I know some of my viewers now do, go show Sam some support because this is his fun, passionate hobby, fun thing, and he's bringing a lot of people in the Tampa community together. Anything else to add there, Sam?
No, honestly, just for you, I think I may have us a new movie theater.
Ooh, I would like that.
It would be really nice to go back to doing the old Nerd Wars stuff.
I'd do some. I want to bring back Nerd Wars. We can do that on Movie World over there.
Or just private movie showing, stuff like that.
Yes, please.
Could be fun.
But go follow Sam over there, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button here. We'll keep bringing in the experts. If you are an expert, hit me up. If you feel like you have some insight, and you can I can vet you, make sure you're legit. Any profiler, investigation experience. I want to bring more people in here to get more third parties. I know you want to hear from me, but I'm sure you'd love to also hear from experts because I just want to make sure we're getting a lot of information here. So if you're somebody out there who wants to become an expert and help us out, reach out to me on Twitter. You can email us at popcornplanetteam@gmail.com. If you're watching live, don't go anywhere. We got more questions for Sam and lots more to talk about. Thank you guys for watching. Live streamers, we'll be right with you. If you're not a live streamer, join us. You can always catch the full replays.